So how many of you have completed the foundation for the GS foundation? Okay, whether you have completed foundation or whether you have studied on your own. How many of you have done it? Everyone has done it? I hope no one is a fresher in the class. Okay, good. So today, you know the agenda of the class. We are basically here to discuss about the GS Advanced program. So we are going to have an open session on GS Advanced program. In this, I will basically discuss what are the features of this particular program, how this particular program is going to address your needs as far as the mains preparation is concerned. And because it's an open session, I also intend to take up a particular topic for the discussion from the Indian economy. Basically to make you understand how we are going to cover a particular topic in the GSAP classes. Is that clear? So as far as the agenda of the class is concerned, you can see this is the agenda. First and foremost, we will see some basic details about the GS Advanced program, where we will understand what are the features of this program and how this program is going to benefit you guys. After discussing this in probably 5 to 10 minutes, then what we'll do, have you seen this year's GS paper 3 question paper? All of you must have seen. So because I teach economy, we will have a look at the 8 questions asked from Indian economy. The basic idea here is to understand why a particular question was asked in this year mains examination. And based upon that, we will also understand how should you prepare for the next year mains examination. See, we always keep saying that one should have a keen eye for PYQs. Why PYQs are so important is because looking at the PYQs, you'll get a knack to know what topic becomes important for the next year mains examination. So we'll have a detailed analysis of the PYQs of this year. Based upon that, we'll discuss what should be our approach and strategy for the next year mains. Then in today's class, I will be picking up one static topic for the discussion. If you see in your syllabus, right? In your syllabus, there's a line which is mentioned, which is called as types of irrigation systems. I hope everyone must have seen that line. So that particular line mentioned in the syllabus, I'm going to cover in today's class. Not just covering that particular topic. Once I'm done with that, we will do the answer writing practice for the PYQs as well. So there were at least 2 PYQs in the previous year mains with respect to irrigation system. So we will do the answer writing practice. So in the class itself, I'll give you some time. So let's say around 11 minutes or 10 minutes based upon whether it's a 10 marker or a 15 marker. So you will be doing this in the class itself. Is that clear to everyone? Okay. So let's understand the main features of the GS Advanced program. For that, let me take you back to your school days. See, when you were in LKG, UKG, let's talk about maths. So when you are in LKG, UKG, you probably studied about the numbers. I hope you are able to recall. We used to mug up 1 to 100, right? And that time mugging up 1 to 100 itself was a very big task for us, right? So we started with number system. That we did in LKG and UKG. And as we progressed to, let's say, primary education. So in the primary education, we were more acquainted with the number system. So we started reading some complex things like how to do addition, how to do subtraction, how to do multiplication. That we did in primary education. As we move forward to in the secondary education, what we started doing? In the secondary education, we started focusing on the kind of problems you get in your CSAT these days. Remember, you get problems like profit loss, interest, right? Distance, time, travel distance, those kind of problems we are solving in class 9th or 10th. And by the time you reach class 11th and 12th, you started getting into differentiation and integration. Are you able to recall those days when you used to do that differentiation integration problems, right? So you must understand that for every education in India, right? For every education, there's always a learning curve. You start with the most basic. From basic, you go to intermediate. And from intermediate, you reach the advanced stage. It's a learning curve which everyone goes through. So it's something like this. So you start from knowledge of numbers. From there, you go to simple maths problem. Then profit, loss, time, distance, and then finally you reach the highest level, like differentiation and integration. Can I say that the same learning curve you'll also find even in the UPSC exam as well? Getting this point? So when you see your UPSC journey, like when I started in the class, I asked you how many of you have completed the foundation. So where do you think are you in your journey? In your journey, you are probably at this stage. Now you have to clear the exam. To clear the exam, you have to go to the next stage. So what we are expecting here is, in the program, we are expecting the students to have come until this particular stage. When I say until this stage, I'm basically saying that I'm expecting that students have done their foundation or at least studied the basic concepts on their own. So once you have built the base, on that base, the value addition that is needed, that value addition we are going to provide it in the GS Advanced program. So can you see this transition, right? So I'm expecting that people have reached until this level. So this program is not for a fresher, understand that. When I'm saying it's not for a fresher, it's not for a student who has not studied anything. It's for the students who have done something on their own. So here we are expecting that students have a knowledge of the syllabus. Students have a conceptual understanding. Like if I ask you, has everyone read Indian polity basics? You have completed 𝐼𝐸𝐴𝐞𝐨 book. The basic part you must have done it, right? How many of you have done the concepts related to economy? Let's say monetary policy. Please raise your hand. Monetary policy. Everyone has done it? Okay. So we are expecting that students should have completed this much. But the problem, I'll tell you, the biggest problem which we have identified by interacting with the students, the biggest problem which we have found out is, let's say student write prelims examination first time. First and foremost, when they're writing prelims for the first time, they are not well prepared for the mains examination. I hope you agree with me on this. Everyone has the same problem. When they write the prelims for the first time, they are generally not so well prepared for the mains. Because it's their first attempt for prelims, they might not be able to clear the prelims. So what happens to such students is, they get into a kind of revenge mode, revenge studies. When I say revenge mode or revenge studies, it's like saying, how I could not clear the prelims examination. So I will for sure clear the prelims examination no matter what. This is the kind of mentality everyone has. Now think a person who has spent, let's say, almost 1 year on studying only for the prelims examination after their foundation. Can I say such people for sure will clear the prelims examination because they have spent 1 year? But where is the real problem? The real problem is, you must understand, prelims is just a qualifying paper. Where is the real game? The real game lies in the mains examination. Prelims is just qualifying. Let's say you score 130 out of 200 marks. Do not expect that UPSC will call you and facilitate you for getting the highest marks in India, right? Never expect that. Where is the real game? The real game lies in the mains examination. Now, for example, how many of you have, let's say, proper notes ready for a topic related to mobilization of resources in your syllabus? Please raise your hand. Feel free. I'll not cross question you guys. Is there anyone in the class? Mobilization of resources, you're done with that? Okay. Only one student. How many of you have a proper notes ready on, let's say you have a topic on direct and indirect subsidies in agriculture? Anyone has proper notes ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 students. Most of you are showing me blank faces as if you are hearing the word for the first time. It's actually part of your syllabus. That is direct and indirect subsidies. So the problem with the students here is disproportionately they tend to spend more time, more efforts on prelims at the cost of neglecting the mains examination where the real game lies. I hope you are able to understand what I'm trying to convey. So the basic idea of this particular class is to provide you that kind of hand holding support so that you are well prepared as far as the mains part of the UPSC journey is concerned. That is the basic agenda. So how we are going to do that? Let me show you through a graph like this. First and foremost, if you look at your syllabus, right? We generally say that for every line mentioned in the syllabus, you should have 1-pager notes ready. That is very important. Let me just give you an example. Let's say this year, there was a question which was asked in the paper 3. The question was, discuss the achievements of PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme. And there, the second part of the question was, how to improve its functioning and outcomes. This is the second part. It's a 15-marker question. Now, I would say for a topic like Production Linked Incentive Scheme, you should have your 1-pager notes ready. You cannot expect that I will go there, looking at the question, I will generate points. That is not possible. Because for a 15-marker question, how much time do you get for 15-marker question? 11 minutes, you know that. And within 11 minutes, if you dedicate, let's say 3 to 4 minutes only for brainstorming, you will never be able to complete the paper. So for a topic like Production Linked Incentive Scheme, you need to have a 1-pager notes. In that 1-pager notes, you need to have what are the salient features of the scheme, why the scheme is launched, what are the achievements of the scheme, and what we have to do. So that in the mains examination, such a question is asked, your mind should pick up the points from that particular 1-pager notes. Getting it? Okay, so the first thing in the class that we are going to do is we are going to have classes to build your content. So because we have to cover the entire length and the breadth of your UPSC mains syllabus, you will have around 100 classes, more than 100 classes, including the ethics. So entire mains syllabus will be covered, but let me tell you, it is mostly oriented for static part. So the static part will be covered in these classes. That's the first thing. After covering the content, what I also believe is if you have content, that is not going to help you. What you also need is that you need to differentiate your content from your competitors. For example, let's say if there's a question on PLI, why PLI scheme is launched. Can I say everyone will write the same point? Like what will everyone write? To boost the domestic manufacturing, to create more jobs. Everyone will write the same point. Why should the examiner give you more marks? It means your answer should stand out from the rest of the crowd. And how do you stand out from the rest of the crowd? By doing value addition. Can you give me some value addition point with respect to PLI? Anyone in the class? Anyone? Defense manufacturing is expanded. Can you give one specific example of a... Good. He is adding a fact. Good. Export is not 20,000. Export is 5 lakh crores. Less dependency on. Can you give me an example of which particular product dependency has got reduced? Yes. Which one? Semiconductors so far, unfortunately, it is not picked up yet. But can I say the best thing is about mobile phones? India has become one of the largest exporter of mobile phones. So you, but how are you linking it to PLI? No, we'll discuss that later. PLI is not for startups. Understand? PLI is for companies which are already well established because there's a turnover. If a company has a turnover above a certain threshold, only then the company can get the benefit. That is why we say that PLI is very unfair to MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprise. Okay. So you need to have a lot of content to add value to the answer. Like I can think of one particular example. One example is there is a company called as has anyone heard of this company? 𝐮𝐩𝐝 It's a company which is Indian homegrown company. Just give a minute. So as basically explaining you the features of the GSAP. So one obviously is building the content. Apart from building the content, we'll also be doing the value addition for each and every topic. The basic idea is to ensure that whatever content you have, it is different from your competitors and you should be able to get more marks. So that is the second part, content enrichment. After that, in the class, what we have planned is daily you'll be attending class. Let's say in a week you may have around 4 to 5 classes weekly. Okay. So if you attend 4 to 5 classes in a particular week, at the end of every class, you will have the daily assignment. And the daily assignment will basically be a very easy questions from the topic that we have covered in the class. Now let's say in polity, if you have studied about the basic structure, everyone must have studied about it. So we'll have basic questions here, like explain the basic structure of the constitution. What are the problems with the basic structure doctrine? It's a very easy question, which you should be able to answer it from attending the classes itself. So the reason why we are conducting this daily assignment is to ensure that you revise the class notes on a day-to-day basis. So in the classes, content building classes, what we will be doing is we will help you to write answers to PYQs. All the PYQs in the last one decade, last 10 years. In the daily assignment, you will be writing the answers to basic questions. And the next thing, which is actually the most important part, is let's say in a particular week, you have attended some part of the, we have completed some part of the syllabus. At the end of the week, this GSAP program will get integrated with the MGP program, means guidance program test. So there is a separate MGP only for the students who have enrolled for GSAP. It's a kind of MGP designed exclusively for GSAP. So whatever syllabus you study for 1 week, on that you will be getting the MGP. And in this MGP, what happens is the quality of questions, the difficulty of questions will increase. So you will expect questions of the UPSC standard. Did you get the point? How the journey is going to be? In the class, what we'll be doing? PYQs. On a day-to-day basis, you'll be doing the basic questions. At the end of the week, you'll be doing the proper UPSC type questions. Did you get the point? And then finally, obviously, our mentorship program. So we will provide you with the mentorship until the time you clear the exam. The idea is to ensure that all of this mains module that I'm talking about, all of that, as you can see, we are planning it to complete it by Jan 2026. The reason why we have targeted that particular date is After that date, you'll have to shift gears and shift towards which preparation? Prelims preparation. So the main idea is by Jan 2026, every one of you should be like mains ready. When I say mains ready means by Jan 2026, if I give you the mains paper of mains 2026, you should be able to write answer to that question. That is the kind of confidence which we want to give you. Did you get the point, everyone? Anyone has any doubt with respect to the features of the program? Feel free. No doubts? Huh. Right now, it will be around 4 to 5. The detailed schedule, you'll get it in day or two. So the detailed schedule will be shared with you guys. Do not worry about it. Anyone else has anything to ask? Feel free. So his doubt is that he has not prepared any notes for the mains. So do not worry. We are there to help you prepare the notes for the mains. But like I said at the start of my discussion, your basics should be already done. Right? So in economy, for example, you cannot expect me to go and teach you what is repo rate. Getting it? But you should have already done the basic part. Wherever relevant, obviously will integrate with the basic part. For example, if you want to discuss the topic of mobilization of resources, you'll have to know the basics about revenue account, capital account, revenue receipts, capital receipts. And that I will be covering. Do not worry about it. Handouts will differ from a faculty to faculty. I think it's a personal thing which is differing from faculty to faculty. If you ask me, as far as economy is concerned, whatever I will be covering in the class, all of those things will be dictated. All the things will be dictated. So by the time you are done with the economic classes, expect at least one register full of entire mains syllabus. Daily, if there are after every class, you'll have the daily assignment. Okay. Except for the first week, from second week onwards, you'll be having the MGP test. Yeah, that's what I said. You're not there when you're discussing one-pager notes? Okay, so I told you, for every topic, one-pager notes will be provided. When I say one-pager notes will be provided, it's not that it will be provided, it will be discussed in the class. And you'll have particular notes for one particular topic and one particular place. As of now, so no, because it's an open session, I'm just going to take up a particular topic for the discussion. That's what. Schedule is not yet prepared. You will get the schedule. Do not worry about it. You'll have to confirm. We'll discuss with that. Okay. Are we done? Okay. Chalo. So, this is the topic for your economy. I hope everyone has gone through your syllabus for economy, right? So what I have basically done, your entire syllabus of economy, based upon where they can be placed under, I have placed under 5 separate pillars. You can see the pillars: growth and development. Second one is budgeting. Third one is agriculture. Fourth one is industrial policy. And fifth one is infrastructure and investment. So this is the syllabus mentioned. So as far as economy module is concerned, what I can say is each and every topic which is mentioned here, we will be covering in the class. Now, for example, if you have this topic, let's say economics of animal rearing. Can you guess what kind of questions can be asked with respect to economics of animal rearing? Anyone? Okay, this question has already been asked in the previous year means. Livestock sector, particularly they may get a question about milk, dairy farming, food processing. So one is we may get a question on dairy sector. Second, we may get a question on blue revolution. fisheries. And now we may also get a question on poultry farming also. Understand that poultry has also become equally important. So in fact, sericulture. So syllabus which is mentioned is just economics of animal rearing. So I will break down that syllabus of animal rearing into different constituents like dairy revolution or milk revolution or poultry, sericulture, blue revolution, all of that I will be covering. Similarly, look at this, Indian economy, and look at this, what is mentioned? Issues. Now when you look at this, right, there are so many issues related to Indian economy. How would you prepare for a topic like this? Issues related to Indian economy. So all of you have studied about how GDP is measured. You know GDP, how it is measured by expenditure method. Everyone knows it. Can you recall the definition of GDP by expenditure method? GDP is equal to, yes? Okay, GDP you must be knowing. One is PFCE, private final consumption expenditure. GCF, gross capital formation. Then there is net exports. Then there is government final consumption expenditure. So when I'm discussing the topic of GDP, we will take a deep dive into this topic, GCF. GCF is investment. We'll also discuss about PFC, that is consumption expenditure. Is it mentioned anywhere in your syllabus? It's nowhere. But I know that if at all a question is asked with respect to issues related to Indian economy, questions are likely to be asked with investment or consumption. What has happened to consumption in the Indian economy? You have been reading newspaper. Consumption in the Indian economy has got reduced. That is the reason why finance minister has decided to announce income tax rebate for the people earning up to rupees 12 lakh. So if people are paying less tax to the government, people will have more money to spend. What will happen to consumption expenditure? Increase. That is how we are going to cover the topic. Clear? Okay. Let's look at the weightage. All of you have a clear look at the weightage within the Indian economy. If you look at the weightage within the Indian economy, which theme gets the highest weightage? Agriculture. Agriculture gets the highest weightage. So you can see here, every year from Indian economy, you get totally 100 marks from Indian economy. And out of this 100 mark, can you see the weightage for agriculture? It is actually how much? 50. So what is the weightage for agriculture? The weightage for agriculture is almost 50%. Can you tell me what is the, as far as prelims examination is concerned, for prelims, which particular theme or chapter becomes more important for prelims? It's not macroeconomy. Can I say banking and finance? Banking and finance becomes the most important. And even within banking and finance, especially in last 3 to 4 years, the capital market chapter has become very important. So when you are preparing for prelims, you should disproportionately spend more time, more efforts on banking and finance. For mains, it is a theme of agriculture. So as and when I start the module for economy in the GSAP, I will be starting with the most important theme, that is the theme of agriculture, land reforms, food processing and PDS. Clear with that? Okay. Let's quickly have a look at the questions asked in this year mains examination. Quickly. Basically to understand how should you prepare for the next year mains examination. Look at this question. Why was this question asked? Okay, you tell me which particular theme does this particular question belongs to? It belongs to theme of inclusive growth. What is mentioned in your syllabus? In your syllabus, they have mentioned only one line: inclusive growth and issues arising from it. That is what it is mentioned. From there, this question has been asked. Have you heard of World Inequality Lab report? According to World Inequality Lab report, it is said that top 1% of the Indians, they account for 40% of the wealth and 23% of the income. It goes on to say that India is the most unequal country in terms of income distribution. This was in news. That is why you had this question about income inequality. Second question, look at this. If you have seen this year's theme, this year's economic survey, the theme of this year's economic survey was geo-economic fragmentation. What is the meaning of geo-economic fragmentation? Just pay attention. All of you have heard about globalization, right? Globalization refers to free flow of goods, services, investment, and people. And when this free flow is taking place, this free flow is basically taking place based upon what criteria? Economic criteria. Now, for example, think of US. US will import goods from China. Why would US import goods from China? Because for US it is much cheaper to import goods from China. So what criteria will determine whether US will import goods from China or not? It is the what efficiency criteria? Economic efficiency. Getting that point? But now, what we are witnessing is a problem which is called as geo-economic fragmentation. Geo-economic fragmentation means even now there is flow of goods, services, investment, and people, but these things is not guided by economic factors. These things are guided by what factors? Geostrategic factors, which basically tells us how friendly one country is with another country. Have you heard of the trade war between US and China? Earlier, US used to import goods from China because it made economic sense. Now what US is doing, US is increasing the customs duty on the goods imported from China because US-China relationships is not that strong. Can you give me another example of this geo-economic fragmentation apart from US-China trade war? Okay, good. Then imposition of tariffs, good. Then have you heard of something called as friend shoring? China plus one strategy or something called as friend shoring. Look at the word friend plus shoring, friend shoring. For example, what US is doing, US is asking its companies to relocate to a country with which US has a friendly relation. Example of that would be US-based companies shifting from China to country like Vietnam. What is this called as? Friend shoring. Getting this point? Even now there is free flow of goods, services and investment, but this is guided by what factor now? Geostrategic factor. Getting that point? Okay. So based upon this, you had this question about what are the challenges before Indian economy when the world is moving from free trade and multilateralism to protectionism, and look at this, bilateralism. So if someone has studied economic survey in detail, they could have easily written a very good answer. Similar to that, You had other questions, you can just see. Look at this. What are the factors influencing the decision of the farmers on selection of high value crops? What is a high value crop? High value crop is any crop for which the farmers will get a higher price. Example of that would be fruits and vegetables, horticultural products. Or example of that would be more of cash crops, including the sugarcane. And even within fruits and vegetables, you have certain high value crops for which the farmers are likely to get a higher price. Have you heard of something called as dragon fruit, which is being a lot of news now? So it says what factors will decide whether the farmer will grow these high value crops. It is related to which part of your syllabus? Crop diversification, or the line which is the cropping pattern. Look at this one. Scope and significance of supply chain management of agricultural commodities. In your syllabus, there's a line mentioned: transport, storage, and marketing of agriculture produce. Look at the word transport, storage, and marketing. When you look at these three things, transport, storage, and marketing, what does it constitute? It constitutes supply chain. Similarly, look at this fiscal health index. You know, these days, the states in India, they are announcing a lot of freebies. And to announce the freebies, the state government are borrowing a lot of money. For example, according to RBI's report, the debt to GSDP ratio of Punjab has increased to almost around 47%. So states are borrowing more amount of money. If they borrow more amount of money, can I say that they'll have less amount of money to spend on development? So Niti Aayog has published a report called as Fiscal Health Index. Based upon that, this question was asked. Similarly, you can have a look at the other questions. I told you about PLI scheme, right? Look at how many parts the scheme has. Rationale is 1. Second part is achievements. Third part is functioning and outcomes. 3 parts. 15 mark. What are the factors responsible for depleting groundwater in India? The reason why this was asked, World Water Day 2022. This particular World Water Day 2022 had a theme, and theme was making the invisible visible. Look at the line, the tagline. The theme was making the invisible visible. It is being said, as far as groundwater is concerned, India is exploiting a lot of groundwater. India right now is the world's largest extractor of groundwater. 25% of the global groundwater extraction. That is the amount of groundwater which India is extracting. There's a report of Niti Aayog called as Composite Water Management Index report, which says that 21 Indian cities will reach ground zero by 2030. Ground zero means they'll no longer have groundwater. Can I say that India is facing a groundwater crisis? Based upon this, you had this question about the groundwater. Last one you can see. This is directly from your static part. Scope of food processing industries. Scope. What do you mean by scope? Potential for future growth. Like in the scope, you have to say what is the present size of food processing industry and why the food processing industry will continue to grow in future. Potential. Elaborate the measures taken by the government for the development of food processing industry. Do you know any major initiative? We have a PLI. The biggest scheme, like he says, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. Have you heard of something called as Mega Food Park Scheme? Yes. So there are some very big initiatives related to food processing. All of that was what was asked in this year mains examination. Did you get the point? Okay. Now, looking at the nature of questions asked in the previous year, in the mains 2025, just look at the questions which are completely conceptual. There can you see nature of question? What is this question? It is conceptual current. Inspired from current affairs, but it's a kind of what question? Conceptual question. This one, factors influencing the decision of the farmers, conceptual question. Scope and significance of supply chain management, conceptual question. Scope of food processing industry, it's a conceptual question. I hope you understood. So what we are going to do in the GSAP classes is all the static part of the syllabus is going to be covered. For that, you'll have one-pager notes ready for each and every line which is mentioned. So in today's class, what we'll be doing is we'll be starting with agriculture. And in the agriculture, can you see there is a line which is mentioned. What is this line mentioned? Different types of irrigation and irrigation system. Clear? Okay, before I start, just one important thing. If you look at these topics mentioned in the syllabus, there are some topics from where we can expect direct questions. Directly from the line mentioned in the syllabus itself, questions are likely to be asked. Example of that, please look at this. What is mentioned here? Role of e-technology in the aid of farmer. In the previous year mains, there was a question. The question was, how does e-technology helps in production as well as marketing of agricultural produce? Two dimension. Role of e-technology in what? Production and marketing. So for topic like this, imagine if you have a one-pager notes on e-technology, where you know how e-technology will benefit the farmer. From there, what you should do from your notes, you have to pick up how e-technology helps in production and how e-technology helps in marketing. And the same thing you need to write. For next year mains, already this question is asked. So it is quite unlikely that role of e-technology will be asked once again. What do you think will be asked in upcoming mains examination? Artificial intelligence can be asked. Then what else? Something else I'm looking for. Like benefits they have asked already. GM will become more important from the perspective of science and tech. We are talking about economy, right? Okay, I'll just say this. One, question has been asked on benefits of e-technology. What is likely to be asked in upcoming mains is challenges. Don't you think it's a very big challenge to adopt e-technology in agriculture? Is there any current affairs initiative related to e-technology in agriculture? You know any biggest initiative of the government? ENAM is there? Good. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Agri-stack. You know that government is trying to give every farmer in India a unique ID, just like every one of us has a Aadhaar. So every farmer is going to have a unique ID, and we are going to create a database which is called as Agri-stack. So that is how we may get a question on e-technology. Same way, look at this part, direct and indirect farm subsidies. Already this question on direct and indirect subsidies, it has been asked twice in your previous year mains. Once 2013, another time in 2023. Look at the gap, almost after 10 years. There are some topics which are indirect. For example, let's start with here. What do you think are the nature of questions likely to be asked from this cropping pattern in various parts of India? What kind of questions do we expect here? Have you seen the PYQs related to cropping pattern? Anyone? So far, it has not been asked. Rice wheat cropping system, good. Why do farmers prefer more of rice and wheat then? Anything else? What was 2023 year declared as? International Year of Millets. It was declared as International Year of Millets. Already on this, a question has been asked on importance of millets. Apart from that, question has been asked as to how changes in consumption pattern and marketing, how changes in consumption pattern marketing has affected the cropping pattern. Look at this word, consumption pattern. It means people consumption pattern has changed, and because it has changed, what has also got changes? Cropping pattern. Example of that would be, can I say, organic farming? Now these days people are demanding for more of organic products. So that is why what has happened is cropping pattern in India slowly is shifting towards organic farming. Similarly, you must be knowing that these days the consumption of milk has started increasing. So what has happened to production of milk? The production of milk is also increasing. Getting it? Okay. So there are some topics which are indirect. Because they are indirect, what you have to do is you just have to do an interpretation. And based upon that interpretation, you have to discuss a particular topic. Similarly, look at this, different types of irrigation. Do not expect UPSC to ask you a question like, what are the different types of irrigation system? UPSC will never ask you that. Instead, it will ask you questions like, what are the problems in irrigation system of India? In fact, that was a question asked in mains 2024. So there are some topics which are, I would say, indirect. They are more of interpretation. So you have to link it to the current relevance and discuss and prepare for such topics. I hope this part is clear. So in today's class, we are going to discuss this topic, different types of irrigation and irrigation systems. So please write down. Irrigation system. Irrigation system. Under that, right? Dimensions. Dimensions. Number one. Present status. Present status. Second, problems. Present status. Second, problems. Third, initiatives. Third, initiatives. Fourth, strategies. Fourth, strategies. Okay, look at the list of topics. First one is present status. Second one is challenges or problems. Third is initiatives, and the fourth one is strategies. Have you seen all the dimensions? Okay. Now let me show you the PYQ. Okay, look at this PYQ. What I've done, I have arranged the PYQ as per the line mentioned in the syllabus. This is about cropping pattern. Can you see all the cropping pattern? Questions related to cropping pattern. I told you in the previous year mains question was related to millets. There was a question related to how changes in consumption pattern and marketing has changed the cropping pattern. So these are the questions related to cropping pattern. Look at this, different types of irrigation system. Can you see a direct question anywhere here? There is not a single direct question. All these questions are analytical. Look at the first question. Factors responsible for depleting groundwater. Challenges faced by irrigation system. Okay. So I've just put it here, subject theme wise, all the PYQs. Okay. So at the end of the class, what you should be able to do, by the time we are done with the class discussion, you should be in a position to write an answer to this question, which was asked in mains 2025. You should be able to answer this question about challenges faced by Indian irrigation. Is that clear? Okay. So let's start with the first dimension. The first dimension is present status. Right, present status. Present status. Okay. Now with respect to present status, please focus here. I will dictate these things. Let's see the present status. Do you know what is the net sown area? That is area under agriculture. Anyone? Okay. The net sown area is around 141 million hectare. It means the total area under cultivation in India, that is around 141. Obviously, you may not be able to comprehend how much is 141. If you see the total geographical area of India, the geographical area of India is somewhere around 326 million hectare. So can you see a vast amount of land in India is under cultivation? Did you get the first point? Okay. So this is our net sown area. But you know that most of the area is under rain-fed cultivation. When I say rain-fed cultivation means there is no proper irrigation. How much do you think, what percentage of our net sown area is actually irrigated? 60%? 40? 49? Okay. Anyone else? Similar things? Okay. What used to happen is until last decade, just 49% of our net sown area was under irrigation. Only 49. But in the last 1 decade, have you heard of schemes of the government such as Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana? Because of schemes like that, the area under irrigation for the first time since 1947, it has increased to more than 50%. Right now, according to Niti Aayog, the area under irrigation is almost 55%, which in terms of number is around 78 million hectare. This is the total area under irrigation. Did you get the point, everyone? Okay. Apart from that, there is something called as irrigation efficiency. I'll dictate this, just pay attention. What is irrigation efficiency? Irrigation efficiency means if you supply water to agricultural field, we are measuring as to what percentage of water is actually absorbed by the crops. Which in case of India, this irrigation efficiency is around just how much? 38. It means if you supply 100 liters of water to agricultural field, how much water is actually consumed by the crops? 38 liters. Where is the rest of the water going then? What kind of irrigation system do you normally practice in India? Predominantly flood irrigation. Because we are focusing on flood irrigation, most of the water is lost. Only few percentage of water is actually consumed. So for India, it is 38%, whereas in advanced countries, this is as high as around 56%. Did you get the point? Apart from that, in agriculture, we may use surface water or we may use groundwater. Which one do you think we use more of in agriculture? Groundwater. If you see presently, 60% of water used by agriculture is groundwater. Remaining 40% of the water is surface water. So Indian agriculture is using more of groundwater. Getting that point? So there is a report published by Niti Aayog. Like I must have told you, the report is called as Composite Water Management Index Report. According to this report, it says that India is presently facing its worst water crisis. Why we are facing water crisis? Because agriculture sector is using more of water. The report highlights that, see, in India, who all will use water? Agriculture sector will use water. Apart from agriculture, can I say, industries will use water. Households will use water. What is the share of agriculture? Anyone? 85. Good. 85% of the water used in India is used by agriculture. So how do you address this problem of water crisis? We need to reduce the water consumption within agriculture. Is everyone clear with this concept? Okay, please write down. Present status. The area under irrigation. The area under irrigation has increased from 49% to 55%, from 49% to 55% in the last decade. In the last decade. Full stop. However, irrigation efficiency in India is around 49%, as compared to, 38 is around 38% as compared to 56% in the developed economies. As compared to 56% in the developed economies. Full stop. Next para. According to Niti Aayog's Composite Water Management Index report, according to Niti Aayog's Composite Water Management Index report, India is facing worst water crisis. India is facing worst water crisis in its history. India is facing worst water crisis in its history. Full stop. This calls for enhancing water use efficiency. This calls for enhancing water use efficiency in agriculture, which consumes more than 85% of the water, which consumes more than 85% of the water. Is that part clear to everyone? Fine. So this is the present status. Apart from that, you should also know how we are irrigating the agricultural area, agricultural fields in India. You can look at this pie chart. This pie chart shows how the area is irrigated. How much area is under irrigation in India? What percentage? 55%, which in terms of number is around 78 million hectare. How is that area irrigated? Look, one is tube well and well. I hope everyone knows what is a tube well. Tube well means we dig a bore. From bore we extract the groundwater. That is a tube well irrigation. Well and tube well accounts for almost 60%. Canal irrigation is around 24%. Tank irrigation is 2%. What is tank irrigation? Basically, you must have seen the farmers construct a tank in their agricultural fields, and from that tank itself they irrigate the water, the agriculture fields. That is just 2%. When you see other sources are basically through micro irrigation or rainwater harvesting. So those things are almost like around 10%. Is that part clear? Can you quickly incorporate this pie chart? Do not write the micro irrigation on the part, just the pie chart, which shows what is the source of irrigation. Source of irrigation. Okay, now I want everyone to take a moment. You have 1 minute. Please tell me, what do you think are the challenges with the irrigation system in India? If you have 5 points, then raise your hand. Challenges with the irrigation system. That is our next topic, right? Take your time. Challenges with the irrigation system. Why, or alternatively, I can frame the question like this. Why do you think agriculture sector uses more water? If you have 5 points, you can just let me know. Anyway, I'll be going to cover this in detail. You have 5 points? Okay. Just brainstorm. If you have 5 points, then can let me know. He has got 3 points. 3 points? 2 points, but you have said 3 fingers. Okay, okay, this is 2. Okay, fine. You have 5 points? Okay, just hold on. 5? Okay, good. 5? Okay. You have another 30 seconds. Done? 5 points? Okay, we'll start with you. You have 5 points, right? Out of those 5 points, I want your best point. Not all the 5. Your best point among all the 5 points. We are growing more water intensive crops. ठीक है. Your best point out of 5. Only 1. Free electricity. Your best point. Irrigation efficiency is low. Your best point. Rain-fed area is more. Anyone else? No. Why is agriculture consuming more water? That's my question. Huh. So? No, no. I think you did not get my question. My question is like, what are the challenges with the irrigation system? Why is okay? Hmm. Okay. Okay. So you could say in a way like adoption of micro irrigation is quite less. Good. We are growing more water intensive crops because the MSP mechanism is quite strong. Okay, good. So here, if you get a question or something like this, what are the problems of irrigation system? I give you 1 minute, right? Within 1 minute, you could hardly come up with 3 to 4 points. In mains, understand you don't have a luxury to think. I gave you a luxury in the class. Ki you have 1 minute. In mains, you do not have a luxury. If you come across a question like what are the challenges of irrigation system, you should have your points ready and it should become like your muscle memory. When I say muscle memory means without even thinking, those points should get reflected in your answer. It's a kind of muscle memory that you have to build. Only then you'll be able to complete the paper. Otherwise, completion of paper is a very Herculean task. So to do that, we always keep saying that you need to have all the points in one particular place. That is what I'm going to do. I'll write all the points at one particular place. I'll explain you those points. I'll also tell you how to generate those points also, so that that framework you can keep it later on as well. Is that part clear to everyone? Okay, so let's see the challenges. Okay, so what you should do, just pay attention. You should ask yourself, from where we use water in the agriculture. I told you within agriculture, we can categorize the agriculture land into two types. One is we can say that there is irrigated land. Yes, this is one. Second, there is a kind of rain fed. So you can write 2 to 3 points here, 1 or 2 points under this. Third, I told you that within agriculture we can use more surface water as well as groundwater. What do we use more of? Groundwater. So you can write points as to why we do use more groundwater in agriculture. Apart from that, you can also write points as to why there is over consumption of water within agriculture. So if you want to generate points along these 4 dimensions. Under every dimension, if you write 2 to 3 points, you're done. 4 into 12, 4 into 3, kitna hoga? Almost like 10 to 12 points. That is more than sufficient. What you can write, that is what I'm going to show you. For example, let's start with the ore consumption. With respect to ore consumption, why is agriculture sector using more water? One point is we can say that we are using cultivating more water intensive crops. But you know what will happen? Everyone will write the same point. How should your point be different from others? And I always keep saying in the answer, whenever you write a bullet point, as soon as you complete a bullet point, ask yourself, can I add some value to the bullet point? Just do not write the bullet point, because if you just write the bullet point, your answer will always look very general answer. Add value addition to that. One value addition that you can do here is you could say that rice and wheat, these two crops account for 38% of our NSA. NSA is what? Net sown area. 38% is under rice and wheat. Apart from that, rice and wheat account for 75% of our total Food grain production. Do you understand this point, everyone? Okay. So this is one point you can write. Apart from that, what kind of irrigation method do you follow? Flood irrigation method. So we can write here use of flood irrigation method. But why do you think we use flood irrigation method? The reason is lack of. What's the reason? Huh? We don't have more of micro irrigation. That's what you're saying. Apart from that, okay. One of the biggest reason use of flood irrigation method due to availability of what is called as subsidized water. So what happens generally is if you are a farmer in a irrigated area, if the farmer is using the canal water, for use of canal water, the farmer should pay water bill. It's just like saying if you use electricity in Delhi, for use of electricity, you pay the electricity bill. So when you pay for something, can I say you'll be more careful in using it. If something is given free of cost or at a lower rate, what will happen? People will use it indiscriminately. People will use it more indiscriminately, and that is one of the reason. You understood this point? Subsidized water? Okay. Apart from that, you can also say low adoption of micro irrigation. Micro irrigation adoption is very less in India. For example, it is being said, what is our net zone area? Net zone area. I told you 141 million hectare. Potential is we can bring 70 million hectare under micro irrigation. What percentage of net zone area? 50%. 50% of our net zone area we can bring under micro irrigation, but presently we have just 14 million hectare under micro irrigation. So what I've done here, can you see? This is a value addition point. Similarly, this is a value addition point. This is a value addition point. You know where people go wrong? Everyone will write 1, 2, 3 points. But if they don't add value to the answer, they're not going to get good marks. Do you understand, everyone? Okay. So these points are actually very important. So I told you net zone area of India is 141. How much is the present area under micro irrigation? 14. In terms of percentage, how much will that be? Just 10%. Just 10% of a net zone area under micro irrigation, which is too less. How much can be brought under micro irrigation? 50%. Getting that point? Okay. So almost 50% of net zone area can be brought under micro irrigation, but right now only 10% is under micro irrigation. Clear? Okay. Let's see here. So how many points you have now? You can see 1, 2, and 3. Let's see here with respect to irrigated areas. Everyone a second on? You have incorporated? Okay, you can just incorporate these points. I hope these are self-explanatory to everyone. Okay, just incorporate it quickly. Everyone a second now? Yes? Okay. Let's focus on the irrigated areas now, this part. Here, with respect to irrigated areas, have you heard of command area development, everyone? Yes or no? You're not heard of command area development? Okay. Let's understand what is command area development. In command area development, okay, let's say this is a river. Don't make this diagram in your mains answer, it is for your understanding. Okay. So what is command area development? Let's say this is a river like this. Now what we do, from this particular river, we take out canals like this. So once we take out the canals, can I say this particular area which can be cultivated through this particular canal irrigation, this we call it as command area development. Why are we calling it as command area development? Because can I say this entire land adjacent to both the banks of the river is under the command of what? The river. That is why we call it as command area development. The biggest problem that we have in India with respect to irrigated areas is there is huge gap between irrigation potential created, which we can say is as IPC, and irrigation potential utilized. Do not write this. I will dictate this part later because focus on understanding. Gap between irrigation potential created and utilized. For example, irrigation potential created. What is the meaning of created? Sorry? Please. Okay. When we say irrigation potential created, created means how much land can actually be irrigated. So let's say this is around 100 acres. This is the total land which can be irrigated. But look at this, irrigation potential utilized. How much land is actually cultivated? This in India could be just 60 acres. Did you find a difference? How much area can be irrigated? 100. But how much are we actually irrigating? Just 60. There's a gap. How much is the gap in this case? 40. Why there is a gap? Why do you think there's a gap? No. Okay. The biggest reason is when you're writing the answer in the mains, you need to be very pinpointed, but I'll explain it. The biggest reason is non-maintenance of canals. What is the meaning of non-maintenance? You must understand the canal is carrying water from the river. When it is carrying water from the river, can I say river has sediments at the bottom? So along with the water, what is river also carrying? The canal water is carrying. It is along with the water, it is also carrying sediments. As it keeps on carrying sediments, the sediments will get deposited at the bottom of the canal. As it deposited at the bottom of the canal, the ability of the canal to carry more water kya hoga? It will reduce. I hope you understood. Apart from that, it might also happen that usually the side of the canal should be such that the water seepage should not take place. We must construct something so that the water does not get seeped in, but that is not done. It's like a pure canal. So when that happens, there is high amount of seepage also, and mostly what will happen is there is heavy sedimentation. Ideally, it is being said, we should regularly undertake what is called as desiltation. Have you heard of desiltation? Regularly remove the sediments from the bottom of the canal, which we don't do. So that is why there's a gap. Did you get the point? Okay, second, and which is very interesting, is it is also said that there is non-participatory irrigation management, which, please remember the keyword, which we call it as, look at the word, it is called as Varabandi system. Let's see what exactly is this non-participatory irrigation management. Think here, this is a class. There is a canal which is passing through in between. What happens is you have farmer who have earlier access to canal at the start, and you have farmers at the last who have the later access to the canal. Think of it. You have a farmer A here who has much earlier access to canal, and you have farmer Z who has the later access to canal. What will happen in this particular case? The farmer A, who is much closer to the river, will use more of water for himself. It means by the time it goes to the next farmer, the water in the canal would have got reduced. And by the time it goes until Z, kya hoga? The canal will be dry. Did you get the point? So what we do in India is there is something called as participatory irrigation management. In participatory irrigation management, all these farmers who are part of command area development, they come together. And that system, what is it called as? Varabandi system. In this system, everyone will get water through rotational basis. When I say rotational basis, means this farmer may get water on Monday, the next farmer may get water on Tuesday, the next farmer on Wednesday, and so on. Which means everyone will have equitable access to water. Did you get the point? Ideally, this should be there in our irrigation system, but we don't do it. There are a few states. Anyone from Punjab in the class? Punjab, do you have this, Varabandi? You have some states in India like Punjab, Haryana. In those states, you have this kind of water which is supplied to all the farmers through rotational basis. But in other states, this system is not followed. Everyone will use more water for himself. So by the time the canal reaches the last farmer, the canal water will be dry. Do you hope you understood? Okay. So this is the second problem, non-participatory irrigation management. But you know, in mains, you don't have to explain to the examiner. Getting it? In mains, you have to be very, very pinpointed. For that, you just have to write one word. Non-adoption of participatory irrigation management, in the bracket, Varabandi system, leading to inequitable distribution of water. That can be a better word. Third, and also very important, is non-adoption of cropping pattern based upon all of you have studied geography, right? In geography, can you tell me what is the conditions required for cultivation of rice? How much should be the minimum rainfall for rice cultivation? Have you studied rice cultivation? What should be the rainfall? It should be around 150 plus, right? 150 centimeter plus. And where is most of the rice grown in India? Most of the rice is grown in Punjab, where actually rainfall is less. I hope you understood this. So what we try to do, we are cultivating more water intensive crops, which are actually not suited as per the climate. So this is very strange, like a state like Punjab, which does not consume more of rice, is actually producing more rice. Which are the traditional states, which are the states traditionally known for rice eating? West Bengal and all those things. But Punjab is not a traditional rice eating state, you must understand. Yet it accounts for the largest production of rice. This is a kind of anomaly, right? And that has been since our green revolution. Getting that point? Okay. And I also said that in irrigated areas, the water tariff is very, very low. Low water tariff will in turn lead to indiscriminate usage of water. So far, so clear? Just look at all these points, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you have any doubts in this 4 points? Clear? Okay, please write down. Irrigated areas. Irrigated areas. Okay. Put a hyphen and write. Huge gap between irrigation potential created and irrigation potential utilized. Irrigation potential created and irrigation potential utilized. Within that, write the problem number 1, first one. Non-maintenance of canals leading to siltation and seepages. SEEPAGES. Second, non-adoption of participatory irrigation management. In the bracket, Varabandi system. Leading to inequitable distribution of water. Next. Low water tariffs leading to indiscriminate use. Of water. Fourth, non-adoption of cropping pattern based upon agroecology. Example, cultivation of rice in Punjab. Is that clear? Okay. Let's see here with respect to a rain-fed area. Anyone knows how much is the annual rainfall of India? Yes, good. The total annual rainfall of India, it is said it is around 117 centimeter. And if you compare the rainfall that India receives with the other countries, it is being said India receives one of the world's highest rainfall. Because we receive one of the world's highest rainfall, ideally, we should not be facing the water crisis. Getting this point? Now, this is an irony that on one hand, we receive one of the world's highest rainfall, yet India faces water crisis. The reason is very simple. 70% of the rainfall that we get, it is concentrated during what months? Monsoon months. It's concentrated during monsoon months. Ideally, what we should do, whatever water that we get during those 4 months of monsoon, that water should be stored. Have you heard of something called as rainwater harvesting? Right? We should have focus on rainwater harvesting, store that rainwater in those 4 months and use that rainwater during the rest of the year. Rainwater harvesting is must. Problem in India is most of the rain-fed areas do not focus on rainwater harvesting. So whatever rainfall takes place, right, most of the rainfall will flow into the nearby sea. So that is the biggest problem, lack of focus on rainwater harvesting. Now, here you must be thinking, how can rainwater harvesting help? There is a village. Please remember the name of the village. It is known as, look at the name of the village. It is 𝐮𝐩𝐽𝐝 village. It is in the state of UP. I'll just briefly touch upon this village. Can you see here the example? This is what a village in UP has achieved with rainwater harvesting. This 𝐮𝐽𝐽𝐝 village in UP, this village was repeatedly facing the problem of water crisis. It was declared as one of the drought prone village. What this village has done, it started focus on rainwater harvesting. And from a drought prone village, surprising thing, this village is now growing basmati rice. Not some random crop. What it is growing? Basmati rice. And you must understand, cultivation of basmati rice is actually requires huge amount of water. So can you see the turnaround that a particular village, a particular state can achieve by rainwater harvesting? So when you are writing an answer in the mains, you need to incorporate such kind of case studies because they'll add value to the answer. Is everyone clear with this? Okay, so that is what I mentioned, this thing. Example, 𝐮𝐽𝐽𝐝 village has transformed from drought prone village to basmati rice growing village through this rain-fed agriculture. So you have 1 point here. So you can just see how many points we have. 1, 2, 3. Then this was the 4th point. This is the 5th point. This is the 6th point. This is the 7th point. And this is the 8th point. Clear? Eh? Okay. Let's move to the last one. Okay. Why do you think agriculture uses more groundwater as compared to surface water? Easy to extract. Why do you think it is easy to extract? It is available everywhere. It is available everywhere. Canal might not be available anywhere. What is available everywhere is groundwater. Then someone said rightly, free electricity. But before that, there's something very important which you should not miss out in your answer. Let's see what is that point. Okay. The point here is loophole in a British era law which is called as Indian Easement Act. Loophole in the Indian Easement Act which treats groundwater as a kind of, look at this, it treats groundwater as private property. Let's see what it does this act say. Remember the act, Indian Easement Act. According to this act, if you purchase a agricultural field, if you purchase a land, right? This act says if you purchase the land, the water beneath that particular land is also your private property. Did you get the point? It is also your private property, which means, just see here, see water. Water can be categorized into surface water and groundwater. Think of it. When we say surface water, right? Surface water is always a public property. Surface water is always what kind of property? It is a community property. Like you cannot say the river belongs to me. You cannot say the pond belongs to me, the lake belongs to me. River, pond, lake belongs to the community as a whole. But groundwater is treated as what? Private property. And because it's a private property, right? You need not take approval of the government to extract groundwater. So on your own, what you have to do, you can just dig a borewell. Once you dig a borewell, and you must understand digging a borewell is a one-time cost. That's it. Capital expenditure. It's a one-time cost. You dig a borewell. Groundwater belongs to you. Plus the government is giving you subsidized electricity. There's no cost at all. There's just one-time cost of digging a borewell. So the problem in India is there's no regulation of extraction of groundwater in the agricultural sector. Did you all understand this point? What some states have done, some states now, these days, they have started regulating the extraction of groundwater in the urban areas, industries. Like in some states, if you want to dig a borewell in urban areas, the state government say you come and ask our approval. You come and ask our permission. Where? In urban areas. But that they have not extended to agriculture sector, agricultural land. The reason, anyone? Why they are not extended to agriculture? Vote bank politics. Imagine last time the government passed the farm laws. What happened? The farmers started protesting against the farm laws and the government was forced to take back the farm laws. Same thing, if the government extends this regulation to agricultural field, the farmers will start protesting. So government does not want to lose on the vote bank. Did everyone understand this? Okay. So this is the biggest problem with respect to groundwater, that we are treating groundwater as a surface water. And the irony, understand this, can I say surface water and groundwater are actually part of the water cycle? Like surface water today can become groundwater tomorrow, and groundwater tomorrow can become surface water. Both are part of water cycle, and but yet we say surface water is a public property and groundwater is a private property. Clear with that? But you don't have a scope to write a story on that. You just have to be pinpointed when you write the point, and that one point is this: loopholes in the Indian Easement Act which treats groundwater as a private property. That is more than sufficient. Clear with that? Apart from that, the second point I can also say is availability of, someone has already said this, subsidized electricity. And you can also say third one, that is introduction of pump sets on a large scale. During Green Revolution. During Green Revolution, especially in Punjab and Haryana, large number of pump sets were introduced. Okay. And last one, lack of focus on joint aquifer mapping and recharge. Example, Andhra Pradesh, farmer managed aquifer system. You can write down, I'll explain that. Andhra Pradesh, farmer managed aquifer system. Okay, I hope this point is self-explanatory. Introduction of pump sets. Okay, let's see this one. You know what is an aquifer, right? Aquifer is basically pond below the ground where there is huge amount of groundwater which is being stored. That is what is aquifer. So in state of Andhra Pradesh, it has so happened in certain specific part, a group of farmers, they come together. After coming together, they identify where a large aquifer is located. Once they identify a large aquifer, they'll try to find out how much water is there in that aquifer. Based upon the availability of water, they will grow a crop which is able to handle that. For example, if the water in the aquifer is less, they'll not grow water intensive crops. They'll grow less water intensive crops. And at the same time, what are they doing? They are focusing on recharge of aquifer. And to recharge of aquifer, there is something which is called as, look at this word, percolation ponds. The word is quite important, percolation. What is percolation pond? For example, let's say here, this is the ground, and this is the ground. Below this, you have a large aquifer. So what the farmers do, they construct a pond here like this. They construct a pond here. This pond, what it will do? The water is accumulated into the pond, and from the pond, the water gets into the aquifer. So we are focusing on, yes, recharge of aquifer. So what are these ponds called as? They are called as percolation ponds. So that way, if you see, you have 7 points there, you have 8 points here, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I told you we'll generate 11 to 12 points. So you have this 11 to 12 points as to what are the challenges of irrigation system. So just so when I say one pager notes, your one pager notes should look something like this. Is that clear? So this should be a one pager note, so that everything that you need to know with respect to irrigation, you should have in like this. But you must understand, This is like your base. It's your foundation. On that, you have to do the value addition. Now, for example, it might so happen while reading newspaper, you may come across a case study of groundwater management. What you must do in that particular case, add that point in your notes. Similarly, if you come across some point related to, I told you what is the system called as Varabandi system. While reading newspaper, you come across some Varabandi system being adopted in a specific state. You can add that point here. So that this becomes your one-stop material which you can directly use in the mains examination. Is everyone clear? Okay. So just look at the dimensions which I dictated at the start of the class. First one is present status. Second one is what? Yes, challenges. Third one is initiatives. So list down all the initiatives quickly. Initiatives. Okay. I'll just explain here. Generally, when we say initiatives, people have a tendency to think of initiatives only in terms of schemes. What you must do is, when an initiative is asked, do not just think of schemes. Instead, break down the initiatives into something like this. Institutional initiative. When I say institutional initiative means, have you set up a new institution? Policy initiative, do we have any policy for that? And then write about schemes or policies. For example, if I ask you about institutional support, did we create a separate ministry for managing water in India? What is that ministry called as? Ministry of Jal Shakti. That should be your first point, not the scheme. Institutional support. So write down initiatives, first one, institutional support. Institutional support, put hyphen and write Ministry of Jal Shakti. Ministry of Jal Shakti. Second, policy support. Policy support, put hyphen and write National Water Policy. National Water Policy to enhance water use efficiency. National Water Policy to enhance water efficiency. Third, central government initiatives. Central government schemes. Central government schemes. Okay, with respect to central government schemes, you can write down the first one, which is Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Under this, there are two components. Anyone knows two components? And Har Khet Ko Pani. So there are two initiatives. One is Har Khet Ko Pani, which is to ensure that every agricultural field has access to water, Har Khet Ko Pani. And the second one is Per Drop More Crop, which is for adoption of, yes, micro irrigation. So what we do here, under Per Drop More Crop, we give subsidies to the farmers to buy micro irrigation equipment, because micro irrigation equipment is usually costly. So we give them subsidies. Second one is, there is a scheme called as Atal Bhujal Yojana. Atal Bhujal Yojana is for sustainable management of the groundwater. Atal Bhujal Yojana. Third, I hope you must have heard of this scheme, Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Jal Shakti Abhiyan is also for sustainable management of groundwater. What do we do under Jal Shakti Abhiyan? I'll cover that part later. Just know, Jal Shakti Abhiyan is for groundwater. Then we have a National Water Mission. Under this National Water Mission, there is a campaign of the government which is called as 𝐮𝐩 𝐕𝐢𝐝 campaign. Any guesses? What is this word? 𝐮𝐩 𝐕𝐢𝐝. To encourage the farmers to adopt the right cropping pattern, like nudging, influencing the farmers to go away from rice and wheat to other less water intensive crops. 𝐮𝐩 𝐕𝐢𝐝 campaign. Then you can say convergence between 𝐻𝐠 and rainwater harvesting. So what is this convergence? Let's see. For rainwater harvesting, what should we do actually to promote rainwater harvesting? We must focus on construction of village ponds. Apart from that, we must also focus on what is called as construction of check dams, right? So that we are able to control the flow of the water. Now, what the government is trying to do, government is trying to have a convergence between 𝐻𝐠 and rainwater harvesting. Under 𝐻𝐠, what are we doing? We are providing jobs to the rural youths. But when you provide them job, give them work which is going to help in rainwater harvesting. So the rural youths will be involved in construction of village pond. Can I say it's a win-win situation? On one hand, you are able to give job to the rural youths, while on the other hand, you are also able to promote rainwater harvesting. It's a win-win situation. Clear with that? Okay. Next one. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Okay. We have a scheme. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Jyoti Yojana. Let's see what is this scheme. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. Under this scheme, we are focusing on what is called as separation of feeder lines. Separation of feeder lines for, anyone knows what is this separation of feeder lines? Separate for agriculture. Okay, I'll explain this. Just take this down. Separation of feeder line for electricity. Okay. Let's see what is this. There's a scheme of the government called as Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. As the name suggests, this scheme seeks to provide electricity connection to the rural areas. Right now, what percentage of villages do you think have got electricity now? Any guesses? What percentage of villages have electricity? According to government says 99% of the villages have now got electricity. So all the villages as such have got the electricity connection, and it might so happen that some of the villages are also getting electricity 24/7. But the problem here is, you know the transmission line, right, which carries electricity. That transmission line is carrying electricity to villages 24/7, which means even the agricultural fields are also getting electricity 24/7. So what happens in this particular case? The farmer is now getting electricity 24/7, and on top of that, the electricity is what? Subsidized. It is free. So what will the farmer do? Farmer will keep running the motor throughout the day, because ultimately groundwater belongs to him. It's a private property. So the farmer is running the motor throughout the day. What will happen to groundwater level? The groundwater level will reduce. So what are we doing now? Look at what I mentioned. Separation of feeder line, which means now there will be one feeder line to agricultural fields and a separate feeder line to the rural areas. For rural areas, the feeder line will carry electricity 24/7. But for agriculture, it will carry electricity only for 4 to 5 hours in a day. So have you ever spoken to farmer these days? The farmer will have a complete idea what is the correct timing of electricity, when he will get electricity for the agricultural field. He is not getting electricity 24/7, only for certain specific time. This is done under a scheme called as Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. Is everyone clear with this? No doubts? Okay. So these are some of the central government initiatives. Let's quickly write about the state government initiatives quickly. How you can write? You can write interlinking of rivers. Next, write state government initiatives. Okay, let's discuss the most important ones. Obviously, there are multiple states which are doing that. I think the most important initiative of a particular state is, you can write Kerala. Kerala, put a hyphen and write first state, Kerala, first state to come out with water budget. First state to come out with water budget. Okay, let's understand what exactly is water budget. You know, normal union budget, general budget. What does the finance minister do? Finance minister will try to understand how much revenue, how much tax can be raised. And after we raise the taxes, how much money can be spent and where the money should be spent. That is what the finance minister will decide in the budget. Same thing, Kerala is doing it, except the fact that it is not doing for money, it is doing for what? Water. It means at the start of the year, Kerala government is estimating how much water is there for the next year and then deciding where that water should be used and how much water should be used, just to ensure that there is a demand supply equal. It is a balance. We don't end up over exploiting the water. So this is one of the best case studies that you can think of. Getting it? Water budget. Next. In Punjab, there is a very famous scheme called as Pani Bachao Paise Kamao scheme. It's a very interesting scheme. Pani Bachao Paise Kamao. How does this scheme work? Let's see. In Pani Bachao Paise Kamao, let's say a farmer in Punjab will get certain free units of electricity per month. Let's say he's getting 200 units of free electricity per month, which he doesn't have to pay for. But let's say out of 200 units, a farmer in Punjab has utilized only 100 units. Can I say that he's used less electricity? And electricity is used for what purpose in agriculture? To extract groundwater. So look at the first word. What has he done? He has saved water. If he has saved water, what will he get? He'll get money. So for example, Punjab government might say, it's just an example, that for every 1 unit which is saved, farmer will get 50 rupees, for example. So how many units he has saved here? 100. 100 into 50. That is the amount the farmer will get. Did you understand? So this is a very good scheme. Pani bachao, paise kamao. Second scheme. This is just for your understanding. You don't have to explain it to the examiner. You just have to write the initiative. Second one you can write down. Bhavantar, Bhav Antar, Bhugtan, Yojana. Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana for horticulture products. This is another scheme from Punjab. Bhav Antar Bhugtan Yojana. Anyone knows what is this? Bhav Antar. Price? No, we are not reducing the price. No. Compensating for the loss of the farmer. I'll just tell you how it works. It's like Punjab government will give a guarantee that a horticulture product, let's say tomato, Punjab government will say a guarantee that you grow tomato and you sell tomato in the market. If you sell tomato in the market, we will guarantee that you'll get rupees 20 per kg. But let's say the farmer in Punjab sells it at rupees 15 per kg. What's the price which government has guaranteed? 20. At what price the farmer is selling? 15. Is there a loss incurred by the farmer? Yes. How much is the loss? 5 rupees. Look at this. Bhav. Bhav means price. Antar. Antar means difference. Bhav Antar Bhugtan. Bhugtan means transfer. Getting it? South Indians might find it difficult. That's why I'm just breaking it down. Bhav Antar Bhugtan Yojana. Is everyone clear with this? Similar to Punjab, even Haryana government has a similar scheme. But in case of Haryana, it is called as Bhav Antar Bharpai Yojana. The only difference is Punjab calls it as Bhugtan, Haryana calls it as Bharpai. So right, next one, Haryana. Haryana. Bhav Antar Bharpai Yojana. Bhav Antar Bharpai Yojana. Next. Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh. For Madhya Pradesh, there is a scheme called as Kapil Dhara. Kapil Dhara. Kapil Dhara, in the bracket, write convergence. Convergence between MG Narega. Convergence between MG Narega and rainwater harvesting. Convergence between MG Narega and rainwater harvesting. Next, AP, Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh, there is a scheme called as Neeru Chettu. Neeru Chettu program. Neeru Chettu program. Put a hyphen and write sustainable management of groundwater. Sustainable management of groundwater. Is this part clear? Look at all the initiatives. How many initiatives are written? Totally. Central government, you wrote around 6. 6, right? And state 5. Okay, that should be sufficient. Last part. Let's move to the last part of our discussion. That is the strategies, right? Strategies. Okay. I do believe that if you know challenges, strategies become much easier. Quickly do a brainstorming and tell me 5 points. What should we do to efficiently enhance the water management in agriculture? 5 points. Do a brainstorming quickly. If you have 5 points, you can raise your hand. 5 points on how to enhance water management in agriculture. Done? Okay, you have 1, 2. I think it's the most easiest thing. If you know the challenges, the strategies are much easier. You have 5 points. Good. I want everyone to raise their hand. You have 5. Good. You have 5. How many? 2 or 3. Just put your mind to work. You should be able to have 5 points at least. You have 5 points. Socho? You have 5? Good. You have? Okay, good. What about you? The last, the cap. You have 5 points? Okay. Okay. When you're writing strategies, what you can do here is you can divide this into 3 main dimensions, strategies. One is, look at this word, what it is, supply side. When I say supply side means increasing the availability of water in agriculture. We should ensure that more water is available, supply side. Second is you can write demand side. What is demand side here? Demand side here means reducing the demand for water within agriculture. And the third one can be a legal framework. Legal framework. Okay, here, what should we do to increase the availability of water? Number 1, can we say that we must expand the area under irrigation? Through which scheme? Yes. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. We must expand the area under irrigation. That's the first thing. Second, how do you ensure that more water is available to agriculture? I gave you the framework, na? What should we do in rainfed areas? We must focus more on rainwater harvesting. So, promote. Do you have any specific case study here to promote rainwater harvesting? Yes? One which we discuss is Jakhni village. Is there any scheme of the government where there is a convergence between MGNREGA and rainwater harvesting? Madhya Pradesh, what is that scheme called as? Kapil Dhara. So that is how you should be able to incorporate points. Kakatiya also can write. Okay. Third, what's the third type? You have irrigated area, you have rain-fed area, and then what you have is groundwater. What we must do is we must focus on groundwater recharge. Is there any specific case study? Which state? Andhra Pradesh. Exactly. Focus on groundwater recharge. Focus on groundwater recharge. And to recharge groundwater, what is that pond called as? Percolation ponds, exactly, through percolation ponds. Example, Andhra Pradesh, farmer managed aquifer system. Okay. Here, demand side. How do you reduce the demand for water in agriculture? First one, adopt micro irrigation. Okay, micro irrigation includes drip and sprinkler. Anything else? Ye- Promote cultivation of. You have any case study of promoting cultivation of less water intensive crops? No. Look at all the initiatives that you have written. Is there any specific initiative? One is Sahi Fasal. Good. Then, Socho. Is there any state specific initiative? Yes. Bhav Antar Bhugtan Yojana from Punjab and Bhav Antar Bharpai Yojana from Haryana. So that you have to write. Example, Sahi Fasal campaign, or you can write Punjab's Bhav Antar Bhugtan Yojana. And how do you reduce the extraction of groundwater? What is that called as? I told you separately. Separation of feeder line. Exactly. Expand separation of feeder line across all states under Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. Okay. Do we have to change some law? Good, good, good. Amend Indian Easement Act to regulate extraction of groundwater. So see how many points you have written? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 points. Clear? Okay. Now you have time. Just go through what all we have covered so far. Just remember the framework that we discussed. We started with the present status. Then we discussed the challenges. Then we discussed the initiatives. And then finally the strategies. So go to that framework because I'll ask you to write the PYQ now. And you'll have exactly 11 minutes to write the PYQ. Let me see how many of you will be able to do that. But quickly revise what all things you have written. Clear, everyone? Any doubts from what we have covered so far? No? Hmm. Okay. I want everyone, you have 11 minutes. Please write on the question. Write on the question, everyone. What are the major challenges? What are the major challenges faced by Indian irrigation system in the recent times? Write down. What are the major challenges faced by Indian irrigation system in the recent times? Question mark. State the measures taken by the government. State the measures taken by the government for efficient irrigation management. What are the major challenges faced by the Indian irrigation system in the recent times? State the measures taken by the government for efficient irrigation management. Everyone has taken down? State the measures taken by the government for efficient irrigation management. Okay. Okay. Your time starts now. I want a proper answer in terms of introduction, body, and conclusion. Okay, continue. You're not writing? अच्छा. Not written? Continue writing. 38% is the irrigation efficiency, na? How much is the area under irrigation? 52%, right? Did I see your answer? No, right? Good. Good, 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 good. Continue writing. You have last 5 minutes. Show your answer. Acha. It's not. Acha. Done? Good. Huh. Okay, good. There are some points that are missing. You need to remember those points. But you're not being able to recollect that points. Mm, That happens. So you have last 2 minutes. Done. Conclusion. हाँ 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 हो गया conclusion भी. You need to write that act. कौन सा act है वो? ग्राउंड वाटर का. Good. Answer is good, but that point, the keyword is missing actually. Okay, last 1 minute. Done? Good. Done? आपका भी? Okay, 2 people, 3, 4. How many more people are done? 5, good. 6, good. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, you can stop writing now. Okay, let's understand the answer structure. Okay, I'll just discuss the answer structure. You can just cross-verify to what extent your answer structure is in line with what I am discussing. And you can show it to me, your answers, whatever written, you can show it to me after the class. But now you can just cross-verify to what extent your answer structure is matching with my answer structure, suggested answer structure. In fact, I'll show you the answer also later. So, see, whenever you come across the question, right, the first thing that you need to do is identify the central theme of the question. What is the central theme? The central theme is what are the challenges faced by irrigation system in India, and also write the initiatives taken by the government to, improve the irrigation management. So what is the question all about? The question is about irrigation system. This one you understood? Okay. Next, what you need to do, whatever is asked in the question, whatever is asked by default, it will become the body of the answer. Is that part clear? So what is the first part of the answer in the body? What are the challenges of irrigation? So there has to be one, challenges of irrigation. Okay, here one thing which I want to tell you, in the body of the answer, when you write this keyword, challenges of irrigation system, what you must actually do, you must place this in a box like this. Challenges of irrigation system. When you place this in a box, you're actually making it evident to the examiner that this is what is asked and I am writing this in the answer. So this should be a direct point, challenges of irrigation system. It should be in a box. What is the second point? What all initiatives? Next, what you should write? You should write a box like this. Within that box, you have to write what are the initiatives taken. Is the answer structure clear to everyone? Now within this challenges of irrigation system, remember how many points we covered? How many points? Around 11 to 12 points we covered. That same point you have to write. And I've seen some of your answers. What you are still doing is you are still writing the point without doing value addition to that. Like some of you are still writing cultivation of water intensive crop. But what you should do when you write cultivation of water intensive crop, I told you you have to do value addition to that. What is that value addition one must do? 38% of our net sown area is under rice and wheat. So that value addition is must. Similarly, if you're writing on point, low adoption of micro irrigation, you should add that fact which we discussed. What is the potential? 50% of the net sown area can be brought under micro irrigation, but what is the present status? Only 10%. Good. That should be there. Similarly, if you're writing point about, let's say, groundwater. When writing about groundwater, I told you which act treats groundwater as a private property. Indian Easement Act. That should be there in your answer. The word Indian Easement Act should be there. Otherwise, it is not going to help you guys. So what all keywords which I have highlighted, right? Those keywords must be there in the answer. So if let's say there are 11 points, not a problem if you're not able to recollect all the 11 points. But if you're at least able to recollect 6 to 7 points, that is more than sufficient. But ensure that the bullet points that you write, add value addition to those bullet points. That is must. Clear with that? Okay. So first part, challenges. Second part, initiatives. And I told you how to write the initiatives. Break this initiatives into number 1, good, institutional support, then policy support, then central government initiatives, then state government initiatives. That is how you must break the initiatives into different parts. Okay, so now the body is sorted out. How to write the intro? And I'm telling you, keep it very simple. Keep it very simple, especially in economy. When we go to cover the economy part in the GSAP module, I'll tell you how to write answer. But as of now, just know that the best way to write an intro in economy is write, what is it? Present status and add data and facts to the present status. The best way to write the introduction here is you can write 2 sentences here. 2 sentences are, the area under irrigation has increased from 49% to 55% in the last decade. However, irrigation efficiency in India is 38% as compared to 56% in the developed countries. So your introduction should be maximum 2 to 3 sentences only. It cannot be longer, understand that. So there is one way to write an intro where you can start with the present status of irrigation, 2 statements. Or there is another way to write an intro. Remember, I told you about Niti Aayog's, yes? Niti Aayog's composite water management index report. Either of these 2 intro is good. But always ensure what you write in the intro and what you write in the body of the answer, these 2 should be organically linked to one another. Like here you're writing, where do you end your intro in the first case? You're saying irrigation efficiency is 38 as compared to 56. Logically in the body of the answer, where will you start off with? Challenges. Why it is lower? Or here you write Niti Aayog's composite water management index, which says that India is facing worse water crisis. In the body of the answer, you are writing why it is facing water crisis. It is organically linked. Clear with that? Once you end with the initiatives, in the body of the answer, how should you conclude your answer? I'll tell you one more important thing. In economy, by default, your introduction should be present status loaded with facts. Conclusion should be strategies. Conclusion यहाँ पे क्या हो सकता है? Strategies. Remember I told you strategies? I told you what kind of strategies? 3 types. Demand side strategies, supply side strategies, and then there is legal framework. So the conclusion could be the strategies needed. Now, why it becomes important is because look at the flow of the answer. Here you are writing present status, body of the answer, 2.A, you're writing the challenges, 2.B, you're writing what? Initiatives. So logically, what should be the conclusion? Strategies. That shows the flow. So if someone is reading your answer, they'll know, okay, present status, challenges, initiatives, and then the strategies. That's it. Did everyone get the point? Okay. I'll just show you how that should look like. Can you do any value addition in terms of diagram here? What diagram can you make? Just check your notes. Yes, sources of irrigation. Very good. So what you can do when you start the body of the answer, just before the start, you can make a diagram of sources of irrigation. This should be in a kind of diagram. Remember the pie chart which I showed you? What is the share of irrigation at different sources? Because if you're writing an answer on irrigation, unless you don't write how different area is under irrigated, that will be meaningless. It will be like a value addition to that. So I'm just going to show you the suggested answer. You can just see. Read the intro. The intro is out of the net zone area of around 141 million hectare. Only around 55% of the area is under irrigation. The irrigation efficiency is quite poor at 38% as compared to 56%. Niti Aayog's Composite Water Management Index report. Body, sources of irrigation, pie chart, challenges, detailed, initiatives, just list out the initiatives and then the conclusion. Going forward, there is a need to focus on supply side factors and demand side factors to improve irrigation system and make Indian agriculture more climate resilient and profitable. Clear? Everyone has understood? Okay. Now I'm giving you 2 minutes. I don't want you guys to write an answer. I just want you guys to generate points for the question asked in mains 2025. I'm just going to show you the question. Okay, see this. Examine the factors responsible for depleting groundwater in India. If you have 5 points, raise your hand. The factors responsible for depleting groundwater. 5 points you have? 1 person. It's like, why is agriculture using more groundwater? What points can you write? Anyone has 5 points? She has already written 4. Good. You have 5? Okay, good. You have 5? Good. You have 5? Okay, I'll just tell you the points. Okay, good. First point. Which act should you talk about? Good. Indian Easement Act. Second, can I write subsidized electricity? Okay, hold on now. Now, you also know what are the problems of irrigation system in India. You know what are the problems of irrigation system? What's the first problem of irrigation system that we covered? Over cultivation of water intensive crops. Second, what kind of irrigation method we follow? Flood irrigation. Third, low adoption of micro irrigation. Those 3 points, can you write here as well? Those 3 points can be written here as well, because we are using more groundwater for cultivation of water intensive crops. We are not using more of micro irrigation. We can also say the other problems also which I discussed. Same with respect to rain fed. We can also say that we do not focus more on groundwater recharge. That is another point. I also gave you an example of a particular state where farmers come together, jointly manage aquifers. What is that state? Andhra Pradesh. So you have 5 to 6 points ready-made here. Second part, what are the initiatives taken by the government for groundwater management? Atal Bhujal Yojana and Jal Shakti Abhiyan. You know 2 initiatives, right? Institutional support, you know. What is that? Ministry of Jal Shakti. You know policy support. National Water Policy. Can you write the same points here as well? Your answer is ready. What should be an intro? In economy, I told you by default, what should be the intro? Present status. I told you, India is the world's largest extractor of groundwater, accounting for what percentage of the global groundwater extraction? 25%. Good. India is the world's largest extractor of groundwater, accounting for 25% of the global groundwater extraction. This becomes the intro. Body of the answer, first part, factors responsible for depleting groundwater. Second part, the initiatives. Conclusion, strategies. What strategies will you write? Demand side, supply side, and more importantly, what is that? A legal framework. You're done with the answer now. Huh? Which? Yeah, you can use that also. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is, if you have this kind of notes for irrigation system, that notes you can use it wherever according to the demand of the question. Now, for example, just have a look at this flow chart, mind map. All of you, start from here. This is the present status of groundwater. Present status. Just read the present status. Largest extractor of groundwater, accounting for 25% of the global groundwater extraction. Can you see the reasons? I just tabulated all the reasons at one particular place. Then you can see here the initiatives. Then you can see strategies, demand side management, supply side management, and the legal framework about amendment of Indian Easement Act. Is there anything extra which I've added in the mind map? Nothing except what? Present status. That's it. Write down small question before we wind up. Discuss the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Discuss the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Discuss the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan in addressing Groundwater crisis. Discuss the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan in addressing groundwater crisis in agriculture. Okay, so let's see here. The question says, discuss the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan. If you get a question something like this, what do you think is the demand of the question? Role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan in addressing groundwater crisis. What should you write here? Crisis in groundwater. Then the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan in addressing groundwater crisis, which means you are required to write what is Jal Shakti Abhiyan doing to address the groundwater crisis. What will you write? Because we are not discussing the class only. Now I told you, you are required to write how is Jal Shakti Abhiyan addressing groundwater crisis. I did not discuss about Jal Shakti Abhiyan. I just said Jal Shakti Abhiyan is the initiative of the government to address groundwater crisis. So what will you write here? She says the best point. She says you can write the strategies. The role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan in addressing groundwater crisis. Can you write these things only? How Jal Shakti Abhiyan is addressing groundwater crisis? Jal Shakti Abhiyan has adopted demand side measures. It has adopted supply side measures. Elaborate on that. I hope you are getting this. And let me tell you, interestingly, these points, where do you think I have picked up these points from? These points I have copied from Jal Shakti Abhiyan only. That's it. So if you get a question like discuss the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan in addressing water crisis, you know what we should do to address groundwater crisis, which obviously who will be doing it? Jal Shakti Abhiyan only. That's it. So for the question which you have written, what is the introduction? Present status. You know the present status of groundwater. You have your first introduction ready. Second part. Discuss the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan in addressing groundwater crisis. So you need to write the reasons for groundwater crisis. You have the reasons there. The same thing. How Jal Shakti Abhiyan is addressing groundwater crisis? You have these measures, demand side and supply side. That's it. Conclusion, what it should be. Conclusion. The question is, discuss the role of Jal Shakti Abhiyan in addressing groundwater crisis. I told you by default in economy, the conclusion can be strategies. Okay. Understand this. Is Jal Shakti Abhiyan focusing on the legal framework? It's focusing on what side? Demand side and supply side. What is missing? Legal side. So don't you think the best conclusion here is, apart from Jal Shakti Abhiyan, there is a need to amend the Indian Easement Act. So you're done. So look at this intro, part 1 of the body of the answer, part 2 of the body of the answer, and then finally conclusion. This is how we are done. Is that part clear? Answer writing is easy. Understand, answer writing is easy, but to write answers, you need to have content. This kind of content which I am telling you about. Is everyone clear now? Okay. Fine then. Thank you so much. If you want to show me answers, you can show it to me. Thank you so much.